The scenes of calm tranquility over Tobermory Harbour on the Isle of Mull give little clue to the changes and activities that are about to take place during a weekend in October 1993. For nearly a quarter of a century, the island has played welcoming host to the 2300 Club annual rally with its dedicated following of competitors, marshals, officials and spectators. A unique event in the rallying calendar, it is hard to believe that the RAC International Rally has only twice the amount of competitive stage mileage. As usual, scrutineering took place on the ground of the Tobermory Distillery during Friday the 15th of October. The Mull rally drivers are only too aware of the importance of safety. Endless hours of preparation go into the cars, some of which are only used on the Mull rally. Competitors and officials sign on and present their required documents to the officials at the Aros Hall in the main street of Tobermory. Car number 1 is last year's winner, Mark Wagstaff. But problems were already plaguing his Astra.
Early on this week, the wrecking car, we snapped the cam belt and bent a few valves. And then when the Astra arrived, we couldn't get it to go up a straight road in a straight line. It was going from lock to lock. So
what was the problem?
The bulkhead was moving.
Oh, so what have you had to do for that?
Today the lads have made up a brace that goes from the top of the pedal box onto the strut top, so it's bracing it, stopping it at pet flex.
Have you had a chance to try it to see if it's alright now?
I'm going to find out in the next half hour.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
What a time to take a phone call. Darling, I've told you not to call me at work. But even Andy Knight's car's having problems. Andy explains.
Well, one of the tyres was fitted the wrong way round on the rim, so the boys had to change it 5 minutes ago, and it didn't blow out onto the rim properly, so they've just gone and blown it up again, and it's okay now.
Why they changed the car to the Peugeot this year?
Well, I'm hoping to do the Peugeot Challenge Championship next year, and with a car from this company, so I just thought I would use it here and see how we got on with it.
Is it as quick as the Nova?
No, it's definitely not as quick, and it's just not as high a spec car, but we'll just have to do our best and see what happens.
Still hoping for a win?
I'm not optimistic.
Welcome support was once again supplied to the event by Philips Electronics, who provided the floodlit start podium as car number 1 leaves Tobermory to tackle 166 competitive stage miles. Andy Knight leaves the start at 2. Car 3 is the spectacular Metro of John Price. Other competitors were to witness problems prior to the first competitive section. John Cope and Adrian Gladwin in the Sierra 2 Litre developed electrical problems on the run out to the first stage. They had to rectify the problem without a service crew. We asked John what happened.
We came down the A road, and the ignition battery light came on. It just flickered on for about a second, and it carried on going. The next thing, everything cut out, lights, everything.
Is it something you can fix?
I don't know. What we're trying now.
The first stage of the rally was the Glen Aras and Hill Road, with the reintroduction of the floodlit corner which proved so popular on Mull rallies of the past. Pace notes are essential on Mull, which means the co-drivers play an important part. Through government legislation, roads are closed and speed restrictions lifted for the rally. Car number 1 of Mark Wagstaff was also our official camera car, and we make no apologies for letting Mark and his co-driver Chris Stables take you through the full length of the stage.
I got a sweat on. Got lost in brakes a bit.
1957-18.
No Cardo 02 petrol.
Thank you.
Cheers. How was that? Steady like.
The long stages mean the competitors regularly catch each other. Overtaking slower competitors on Mull is always difficult. The narrow one-track roads have passing place, and it is only at these points that the faster cars can move through. It also, though, needs the courtesy of the slower drivers to move over. Although in fierce competition, the vast majority of drivers have the goodwill to move over when they can find a passing place, that is.
How are you doing, Ian?
Alright, how are you? We'll look a lot better when they put the floodlights up, Sam.
You reckon?
What time are the floodlights coming?
You're always bloody moaning about something.
However, some competitors move over when there isn't a passing place, with dire consequences. And on this island, the trouble with moving over at the wrong time is that if the walls don't get you, the sea will.
Touch. There you go, fucking touch.
Yeah, they're alright, they're both alright.
Okay.
The first service was at Craigmuir, where some of the bays would remain empty due to incidents as seen earlier. It was a bitterly cold night with temperatures near freezing, so steaming hot food was a welcome treat for the service crews and competitors. Early competitors start arriving mainly in their running order.
Mark, first car in, it must have been going alright. Yeah, going alright. We're having a bit of brake problem. I'm getting very spongy brakes. The angling problem, we don't seem too bad. We've been flat in fifth. But
Right, that's improved.
that's improved.
What's caused the brake problem, Mark?
I don't know, it's a bit of air in them, I don't know, I've no idea.
Are you going to get them bled now?
Yeah, I just need to check out geometry of suspension first, and then we might alter it again and make it really quick.
Well, I hope you're right. Obviously, being first car on the road, you won't really know how you're lying.
I know, damn true.
Right, well, if I find out, I'll let you know.
Right,
Thanks,
cheers.
Mark.
Mark's steering geometry was checked in an effort to improve handling. By now, results were siphoning through and eager crews bustled to see how they were lying. Neil McKinnon set a blistering pace in his new Escort Cosworth. The two mantles of John Cressy and Chris Griffiths were both in the top 10. We speak to Chris.
Fourth at the moment. How's it been so far?
It's been pretty good, really. We've basically treated it with respect because last year we had an early off, so we want to try and get to the finish. But I think we'll have to try some cut slicks. Providing the weather keeps, I think we'll be able to increase on speed a bit.
Have you had problems with the tyres?
Well, we've had the problem that we're using probably too wide a tyre on the back, creating the car to be a bit unstable, you know.
Yeah. Is this because the tyres aren't warming up enough?
I think yes. I think probably that's the problem. That's what I'm putting it down to. Whether my theory is right or not, I don't know.
So you might even be able to improve your position.
Oh, hopefully, yeah.
Well, best of luck anyway.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The Mantas were seeded 12th and 10th, with the latter co-driven by Kevin Savage.
Kevin, lying 9th at the moment. How's it been so far?
It's a little bit slippy in places with no real problems. Got a bit of an oil leak, but we'll carry some oil and chuck it in when it needs it.
When you say slippy, is that ice on the roads or just greasy?
Bad to tell really, but we're trying to think it's not ice, but I think it is really.
Have you had any problems at all with the car?
No, we've got a little bit of an oil leak, but it's not a problem.
Yeah, and what about the opposition? Do you think you can move up the leaderboard?
We'll wait for them to fall out.
Lying 6th are John Shirley and Neil
You're
Fraser.
doing very well, lying 6th overall. Any problems?
The only problem I had was on the first stage, which went quite well up until Dervaig, where we didn't quite get the floodlit corner right. It's quite bad for jumps coming over the hill road, and we damaged the exhaust,
Oh dear.
which has fortunately been repaired now. So
Has that cost you any time?
a couple of seconds probably, because on the long Gribben stage we're actually finding it, the driver was finding it difficult, John was finding it difficult to hear what I was saying, so it's a slight problem, but nothing.
Andy Knight in the underpowered Peugeot was setting quick times and lying 3rd. Through the night, the competitors not only had to face frost and icy patches, but also snow blizzards, which was even worse for 2300 Club's Hardy Marshals. Gaps had started to appear in the entry list. A noticeable absentee was Eddie O'Donnell with a head gasket failure. As competitors battled on into the early hours, more retirements became evident. Past winner Mike Patterson was another driver early to bed when his front diff broke. Tyre choice was crucial, and many teams admitted making the wrong choice. Later in the rally they found themselves in snowflake whiteouts on slick tyres, not the best combination.
10.
By the end of Friday night stages, the leaders were McKinnon, McGillivray, Griffiths and Knight.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Saturday's stages started clear and bright. The first stage of the section was Mish Locks. Mark Wagstaff in car 1 was lying 7th. Moving up to 10th was Callum Guy in car 34. Derek Carlos in car 8 was finding it difficult to keep up with his previous Mull performance and lying 15th. Dougie Hall in car 18 was now lying a creditable 9th in the Toyota. Also a flyer, John Hardy, bringing his Sierra up to 16th position. Andy Turl car 39 was chasing John in 17th position. With electrical problems well sorted, John Cope's Sierra was just inside the top 20. Line 9th, Mike Shield in the Astra. Andy Sherrington's star-speckled Nova rounds off the top 20.
Blair Bushby in car 79 had moved up 60 places from seeding. Problems for car 82 where punctured tyre needed to be changed, and the car falling off the jack didn't help matters.
Only if it's bent when it's just gone over.
Sorry?
Only if it's bent when it's just gone over.
But it's not only competitors that have problems. After this incident, this van hire company should consider changing its name from Hole-in Wall to Hole-in Ditch. Back with the leading teams. Car 7, James McGillivray.
Lying third, Chris Griffiths in the Big Manta set fastest time over the Missionish locks and was eroding the time from the second place Escort. Andy Knight was lying fourth, but a later off was to drop him to 16th. David Thompson Sunbeam was coping well with the daylight stages and now lying fourth overall. John Shirley in car 11 was unable to match his Friday night pace and dropped from 6th to 7th during the daylight stages. Mark Wagstaff, car 1, moved up to 6th place. But still in the lead was Neil McKinnon in the Escort Cosworth. John Price was in his element. He can see in the daylight and moved up 6 places to 5th. Third in Ascona number 31 was looking impressive and lying 8th overall. Callum Guy climbed 3 places and was now 10th. The Sunbeam of Derek Carless had a cracked exhaust after a bad landing over a yump. A close encounter with the bridge for Dougie Hall, still in the top 10 but soon to have problems. Lying 16th, John Hardy in the Sierra. John Cope in the Sierra was only 3 seconds behind Andy Turl in 14th position. The third afternoon stage was stage 11, where conditions deteriorated due to sleet.
flat bow. Long slide right over brow. 50, flat right. Mid jump, keep right. 140. Tarmac. Flat left over brow. Long medium left. Tightens over brow. Flat brow. 100. Flat left over brow. 140. Water. Flat right on brow. 100. Flat right over brow. 50. Flat left over brow. 50. Flat brow jump. Water. Very long flat right. Flat left over brow. Flat brow. Slide left. Flat left on brow. 50. Flat brow into caution. Slide left on brow dips. Long slide left. Into slide left. Brow on sudden square right door cut. Medium left and medium right. On the hairpin left on the brow. 50 medium left on brow. Drops into K long, K right. 50 medium right. Slide left. Long slide left. Long slide right on brow. 50 flat left. Flat brow. 50 flat brow dips.
As Mark and Chris continue on stage 11, some of the lower numbers had to contend with worsening conditions on stage 10. Steve Price in Astra 117 was lying in 76th position. The weather continues to deteriorate as Brian Herriot in the Nova leaves the start of stage 10. Stephen Slack and Paul Nolan in car 57 are having a troubled run and are lying in the last 10 of the tail enders. As Michael Ireland and Alan Clark in Sunbeam number 135 leave stage 10 start, the leading competitors are now completing stage 11. After the third stage, Mark Wagstaff in car 1 moved to 6th overall. Still in the lead was Neil McKinnon and Mike State in the Escort Cosworth. John Price in the Metro felt a lot happier over the daylight stages and was now lying 5th. On the last afternoon stage, Mark Wagstaff found the De Vague hairpins a slippery proposition.
is open, K right. Flat left. Flat brow. 50, K left is open, K right. Flat left on brow. 50, flat brow in the K left. Okay. Bloody hell, it's fucking slippy in here. Back end's bloody all over shop. Jesus. Say hello to the camera, Brian. Hello to the camera. Where is it?
Problems?
Yeah, went way off.
Way off.
3 minutes lost.
Oh dear.
But that was better.
Well, I hope you pick it up.
Okay.
All right, good luck.
Bye.
Right, come on. So what happened?
So the slides off on a K left.
Yeah, you've slimmed your car a little bit.
Yeah, it all
Put it
has
on
to
a
line
day.
in it, doesn't it?
Is everything all right?
Yeah, well, we've had a few problems with clutch, keep missing a gear. I think that's contributed to it coming off, really.
Has this caused any problem on handling?
A touch, yeah.
A little?
We'll fix it in an hour or two.
Good. Best of luck.
Yep. Cheers.
All the best. Any problems?
Well, something making a funny noise, but I haven't quite worked out what it is yet.
Has it lost any time?
Not on this stage, no. We've had a problem with plug leads falling off on the past two stages,
Have you?
though. Yeah, which hasn't done us any
Have
good.
you lost much time with it?
Fair bit, yeah.
Have you sorted that problem?
Yes, that's fine now, yeah.
Well, good luck for the rest.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Taking us back to the 60s.
That's right.
How's it performing?
She's 30 years old this year and she's going like a gem.
Catching
Unbelievable.
Peugeots, are you?
For a couple of our, we had a couple of them. We had an Escort power, or Cosworth powered Escort, I believe, behind us earlier on, but we let him go.
So how are
It's
you
a good
doing?
idea.
How are you lying, do you know?
I think we're
64th.
64th at the start of the leg, but I think
Yeah.
we've probably pulled back a few places.
Any
since then.
problems? Especially with the car being so old?
Well, there's one major problem. I love the island now. My first time here, I'll be back.
John Cressy claims he's still to find his car's hidden power, but he can't be far off, lying 11th overall. For Saturday night, cars were reseeded in their overall position, which meant first car away from the Salem restart was Neil McKinnon. Second away was James McGillivray in Escort 7. Car 12, the Manta of Chris Griffiths, left the restart at 3. David Thompson in Sunbeam was lying 4th, 1 minute behind Griffiths. John Price in his spectacular Metro was back in the running, lying 5th overall. Mark Wagstaff, last year's winner, was lying 6th and hoped his service crew had rid his car of earlier gremlins. Although cold, the temperature was up on the previous night. There was little snow and very little frost, which confused teams yet again, many of whom ran on intermediate tyres when slicks would have been quicker. McKinnon, the great tacticianer, eased up slightly, only to find that McGillivray and Griffiths were both snapping hard at his heels. The night started with a reversal through the floodlit bend from Hill Road through Glen Arros. This 14.5-mile stage kept many competitors on their toes. By now, the majority of competitors had completed the stage and were well on their way to finishing the first part of Saturday night's section. As the last competitors attacked this stage, service crews at Craignewer awaited in anticipation for the leading drivers to arrive. First car in service was Neil McKinnon. How's it been?
Oh, the only problem we've had today really was with the power steering. A hose flew off in the first stage this afternoon, and that's all really we've had with it.
Your time?
Well, we dropped a little time, not enough a lot really.
Still in the lead?
We're still in the lead at the moment, yes.
Do you prefer the Escort to this year?
Definitely, aye. It's something similar to driving like a Mark II, except with like twice the power.
Flying a creditable third is Chris Griffiths. How's tonight's first section been?
Tonight, very well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we were 15 seconds up on McKinnon on the first stage tonight, and I don't know how we've done on the last two. I would think we're just sort of level pegging.
I've just had a word with Neil. He's getting a little bit nervous about people behind him catching him up. So
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he says he's going to have to put his foot down a little bit. Obviously, catching somebody like Neil in that type of car, especially with a Manta's good going. Have you found the car handles quite well on this rally?
It's a little bit big, really, the car generally, but on the likes of Glen Harris, it's
Yeah.
superb.
Yeah.
It's really Manta country, you know, and it could go a lot quicker through there, another 30 seconds, I reckon, without sort of, you know,
Yeah.
pushing the boat out, as it were.
How do you do this afternoon on the daylight stage?
We had some good runs over to De Vague,
Yep.
from Tobermoor to De Vague, but the others, not enough knowledge of that, and too slippery.
Well, good luck for the rest anyway.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Well, John, you look fairly impressive this afternoon on the stages. How's it been?
Yeah, I could see where I was going this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we set some good times, and we had the right tyres, which we didn't have last night. And we had a bit of a go, and we were all right on the pace again. But it's the lack of driving in the dark experience, I think, it's catching me out a bit, because I don't do many rallies in the dark, and a lot of these lads are used to it, so it does play a big part.
You talked about the tyres last night. What was wrong with the tyres for last night's stages?
Well, I've usually got my tyre choice right, but last night I was a way off, because when it was snowing I was on slicks, and it was the other way around, I was on wet. So I mean, we just had to do the last two stages on pure slicks, and there was snow and ice, and we dropped a lot of time.
So how much time do you think that's cost you last night alone, just on the tyres?
I would say a good 3 minutes probably.
Tyres again seem to be a crucial factor on tonight's section, with many leading contenders losing time with the wrong choice. James McGillivray.
We've been dropping time to Chris Griffiths, but we're just trying to keep it steady and consolidate second place.
Yeah, I've noticed you've got a Vauxhall engine in a Ford car. What's the reason?
Cheap, reliable power. We could have gone Escort Cosworth or something, but to buy the car it wouldn't be the problem. It's the parts that's the problem.
Yeah, I think to be in your position, especially with Neil having such a powerful car, it must be very, very difficult to even try to pull back any time to it.
The only chance you've got is through the twisty bits.
Yeah.
In the long straights now, Neil just powers away, and he's going well.
How did the daylight stages go for you?
Aye, we worked away and picked up a few seconds here and there, and just enough to keep us there.
So what do you hope to do? Just consolidate your second place?
That's the only thing we can do.
Well, best of luck for that
At the
anyway.
moment. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, some hurdy moments we saw on the afternoon stages. How's it gone?
Well, it's been going all right, but I don't think I'm going fast enough because I can't get onto the same pace we were on last year. We went out on wets, and maybe it was a a mistake that, but because the road's dry in one pit and then slightly damp, but I think we could have gone on slicks, so that might account for how we're just not quite on pace to others.
We were lying 19th overall after this afternoon stages.
Have you had any problems?
Well, the first three stages took quite a lot of getting used to. It's a new car for us. We've only had it a month. It's the very first event for it.
Yeah.
But the first few stages quite slow, and then we managed to speed up. We found a little secret trick.
Yeah, I've heard that you've took a feather out of Formula One cap, and you're really looking at keeping the tyres on the boil, really.
Well, that's right. We were after, you know, we couldn't quite find out why we were quite slow, so we were in the local village shop, and we found this bread called Nimble, and we thought that if we could get eat some of this Nimble bread, well, then we thought we had a better idea.
Yeah.
Make some toast.
Yeah, sounds good.
And warm the tyres up.
So what you do really, you make the toast and strap the tyres.
Yeah, we make the toast and then wrap it around the tyres.
And that really keeps them nice and soft.
Yeah,
ready for the...
yeah, we've got to make sure we get the butter on the right side.
Oh,
Put it on the
right,
wrong side, it goes the other way, it makes them worse.
Well, you've obviously pulled up a lot of time with using this type of heating method. How
Yeah.
much
How many seconds do you think you've saved on this?
Oh, we pulled back 2 minutes from some other crews on the second batch of stages. We're experimenting with different sorts of margarine now.
Right, have you tried other forms of bread?
No, we thought about wholemeal bread, but we thought that was better for the back end.
Ah, right, so Nimble seems to be the quickest?
Yes, it is at the moment.
Well, the best of luck anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most crews bring a well-equipped service van that will put many garage stores to shame. John Cress's crew stripped the man to carbs and searched for the cause of a slight misfire. The final stages were delayed somewhat when the course car left the road towards the end of the stage. Fortunately, the 2300 Club officials had a well-marked floodlit stage clock, which meant only half the stage was lost. John Price in the Metro finished in 6th position after retiring in the lead in the final stages last year. Andy Knight finished the rally 2 places behind Price in 8th. Last year's winner, Mark Wagstaff, finished 4th after he eventually rectified his handling problems and came to terms with the constantly changing weather conditions. The 24th Tour of Mull was drawing to a close. Another successful event made possible by the officials and marshals and welcome support of Philips Electronics. On Sunday, results were finalised with Chris Griffiths 3rd, James McGillivray 2nd, and winner for the 5th time, Neil McKinnon, co-driven by Mike State. Philips UK Managing Director presented the victory champagne.